What's going on?
It's South African. You'll get used to it. I was just thinking we should actually start teaching you some Afrikaans words for when you come to visit.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Go on then. Give me the first one so all your followers can have a chuckle.
For me, I'll give you an easy one. Waar is my koppie koffie? Where is my cup of coffee?
Oh, well, again.
So I'll keep it clean and easy.
That's just cheating. That's just like, where is my cup of coffee?
Very good.
That is just so, that's just a really bad accent. Like, I shouldn't really do that. All of your English followers are going, he just put a really weird accent on a perfectly English sentence.
Yeah. But you sailed past with that one. Well done.
Oh dear.
Welcome. So is it Dr. Brendan Clarke, Dr. Brendan, Dr. Clarke? How do I?
Oh, yeah, there's loads of words that people use for me, but Dr. Brendan is fine. Okay, you can do with that. Okay. Sunday name is Dr. Brendan Clarke. Okay. But no, you can use Dr. Brendan. It's fine.
Perfect. All right, Retha.
Welcome, Brendan. And thank you, Antoinette, for hosting this. We are really thrilled to have you join us, Dr. Brendan. We are gearing up for the African Pet Health Summit, and we are looking very much forward to having spend a little bit of time with you. So for the listeners and people following us, Dr. Brendan is a highly respected veterinary surgeon and raw feeding advocate. With 30 years plus of clinical experience, he has seen firsthand how proper nutrition impacts disease prevention, recovery, and overall well-being. As a key figure in the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society, Dr. Clarke has been instrumental in bringing the gap between traditional veterinary care and fresh species-appropriate diets, challenging outdated guidelines with real science and practical experience. Today, we will be tackling some of the biggest challenges in pet nutrition, trying to debunk some common myths and exploring how pet parents can make better choices for the animal. So now, Antoinette, it's over to you, and you can go ahead and ask the questions.
Okay. So I'll ask the questions then. All right, Dr. Brendan, as a vet, you've worked with both conventional and holistic approaches. So what made you shift towards raw feeding and natural care?
A long story. I'm going to keep it short, okay, for Instagram. I literally will go through. I moved, having dived into veterinary practice, having qualified, went in deep back in the days when we didn't have much referral services, and that may be quite similar to your situation in South Africa at the moment. And I pretty much was ticking off the list of all of the ologies that you can think of that would sort of fulfill the requirements of my patients, from dermatology to cardiology to immunology to, pretty much you talk about it. I was, in there really trying to exceed where I'd just got out of university with, because you're given day one skills, but you always feel that you need to expand that horizon. And I sort of burnt through so much stuff in the first 3 years of my practice, and I did a deadly thing of writing down where I wanted to be in 5, 10 and 20 years. Somebody said this, to me when I qualified. They said, you should really do this, and be careful, anybody out there who's thinking of doing this for their career, because it can just come true. The thing is, it puts you on an express train, okay, to get there. So I literally had written this down, and I was at 5 years, I'd wanted to be in a position where I was comfortable with what I was doing and working in a veterinary practice that I was comfortable in my surroundings and, love the community. And that was pretty much fairly low bar, but it was there. And at 3 years, I had been working in a 2-man practice, 2-center, loving the community that I was in a place in Nottinghamshire, Robin Hood country, okay, and literally had gone, do you know what, there's a limitation here of where I can go. The guy didn't want me to become a partner, do anything else, so I went home to my home town where I now am in Leeds, West Yorkshire, and literally contacted a guy I'd known from my home practice, the practice that was literally a mile from where I was born. Had a sit down chat with him and said, right, I'm coming back to Leeds. I want to set up my own practice like you did. I've got some ideas of where. And he just said, stop you there. Why don't you take over my part of the partnership within the practice? He was getting on for retirement age anyway, and he just sort of like felt that it was a good transition. And I obviously knew the community up there. So I joined that practice, very much conventional, 100% conventional. They'd already been a holistic practice. They'd already had 10 years under their belt of talking about raw food feeding and doing various other things. And I literally hit the ground with, this is what I want to do. This is, keeping up to speed with everything. But I was getting frustrated, really frustrated with just really symptomatic treatments. And that's what conventional medicine very much is. It's treating symptoms and seeing where you go from there, hoping the body will overcome both the original disease and what you're pumping on top of that. And so it's through seeing the other side of the fence, seeing that actually recognizing in my own work that there was only suppression of symptoms, and then seeing both with herbal medicine, with nutrition, with other approaches, that actually it was possible to take another step, to take a step closer to healing animals, to getting them off medication, that actually brought me down this line of where I am today, which is 25 years plus on of dealing with disease through getting to root cause, looking at nutrition, looking at underlying health issues, advising on environmental changes all the way through to complementary medicines, acupuncture, herbal medicines, even homeopathy in occasions, to really look at how we can adjust the health outlooks for those patients. And that's what's got me here today.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I find with my own journey as well, my dogs are now on raw because of my own health issues that I had. And when me and my husband sat there and says, well, if we shouldn't be eating this processed food, then what are we doing to the dogs? And that's when when I started looking into raw, and at that point, that was 2018. So there was a few groups there, but it wasn't, if you were weird if you were talking raw food for dogs. and one of the things.
And doesn't that seem so strange? That just, we look back, when you've got experience, 7 years on, you're looking back and thinking, why was I even at that verge of questioning what I needed to feed my dog, because you sort of like, it suddenly falls into being so much easier when you recognize, balance through using different, rotations of foods, giving, just as we do for our own health, you never go to a doctor with any ailment. And if you dare to touch on nutrition, I have yet to come across a doctor that would actually advocate that you have more ready meals and more processed foods from a fast food joint for your health. They always seem to advise more fresh food. And, it's that, I think there was something happened around 5 years ago where people looked a little bit deeper at their own health and started to question whether they were doing the right thing by their own diets. And we've seen a massive upturn in people's recognition of moving away from ultra processed foods. There's books about it now, for humans, talking about how to recognize ultra processed foods, and then how to avoid them and why there's health benefits in avoiding them. And so people are slowly ticking over and realizing that's working for me. It's working for my family. One of the most important members of my family is my four-legged friend. Okay. And so as soon as they make that connection, they suddenly look at what's on the bag or in the tin and go, what am I doing? It's time to change.
And I think one of the things that was scary for me is from the vet, because the vet often says to you raw feeding is dangerous and things like that. So how, if someone wants to start on that journey for raw, what would you say to the vet, or help the pet owners to say to the vet?
Yeah, look, it's quite an obvious sort of conundrum that's going on, because there's this what we call cognitive dissonance. It's that what they've always advised, suddenly being highlighted as actually questionable becomes a real concern. Well, how can I just turn that 180 degrees and start advising differently? So they almost defend the indefensible. We've got a game show that does that, where you've got to defend the indefensible as far as on the sports field, as to why somebody's achieved something. Well, it's the same thing. If you confront somebody head on, question what they're doing, almost question their professionalism, all you're going to get is that up against the buffers confrontation. And I would just say, look, for those of you who've already been raw food feeding for many, many years, choose those opportunities when you place your beloved pet on the table in front of people and they comment on how great their teeth are, how good the coat is, how healthy they look. Just say, thank you very much. Can you guess what I feed? That sort of coaxing them in. And if they question, oh, that's deadly, and you say, well, you've just commented the opposite in front of you. And from a point of view of, why I took that journey, for many people, the easy one is I've chosen a fresher food. And, they'll bring in all sorts of questions. You just say, look, there's loads of science out there to say how animals can achieve balance through variety, and that's what I'm doing. Look, if you are a raw food feeder or profess to be a raw food feeder, and all you're doing is feeding chicken breast every single day, this is a wake-up story. Come and join us at the conference. Learn out actually what raw feeding is truly raw food feeding is truly about, and actually understand how to encompass all of the nutrients required for a healthy diet. But I think for the majority of people that have been doing it for years, it's about just getting people to see the evidence, because you can have all the science in the world. You can put papers and papers down in front of people. They won't read it. They will try and misquote some other papers that they've seen in the effectively veterinary press, not through true research, but just through the veterinary press, with opinion pieces stating why they're concerned about the possible risks. And that's what it always comes down to. There's these suppositions and possibilities that are just way off on the horizon and never actually come to fruition. And actually put in front of them the evidence of your healthy animal, how well they're doing, and then just bring them on board and say, look, there's lots of people talking about this. If you want to know more about fresh food feeding, come and join us and talk about it. Don't confront them. You confront them, they'll put down the shutters. They'll just come up with some mysterious figure on the possibilities of, problems with bacteria that have never been shown in the true science to be a fact. And you will get no further in the consultation than that. So
this is pretty much the how we try and do it with We Love Pets as well. It's just providing the information and not kind of browbeating and bashing people and judging people, and say, look, this is the information. Go and have a look at it. Make up your own mind and start implementing changes that is sustainable, because there is this, one of the objections is that raw feeding or natural feeding is more expensive. So
you've got to look at the overall cost, okay? Because there isn't just a cost of the food that you put on the table, okay? There is actually a cost to effectively your welfare, and there's all of the pet's welfare as well, but also the consequences to health. And actually, there's a really great paper. Dr. Anna's joining us as well on the conference, and that's going to be great. But Dogs Risk did an excellent paper from, it must be 7, 8 years ago now, on the relative risks of raw food feeding. And when you take out, over 16,500 homes, this is not a small number, 90,000 years of experience in those members, and looking at from that questionnaire where the relative risks were, and there was 5 that had a suspect foodborne illness. There were 6 kids that actually got it from the kindergarten, that's the nursery. So there was more foodborne issues coming from nursery than there were from raw-fed pets. But when you subdivide that, actually those cases, those 5 cases, belong to a subset of animals that were fed waste, out of date food from the fridge, not true raw. And the flip side of that, the subgroup that fed more than 50% raw actually had the reverse. They had healthier families. They had families with less health issues. So actually, if you look at the overall cost, not just to the pet, but to the whole family, there's huge savings over feeding ultra processed foods. So you've got to look at the big picture. That's what I love about holistic medicine.
What would you say is one of the major health issues that you would contribute to an ultra processed diet? Or is the list too long?
Well, I mean, look, attribution of illness, I think, look, there's a famous saying, which is all disease starts through inflammation in the gut. Okay, your gut is a front line to all sorts of problems, that it's trying to protect the body against. And there is a risk that ultimately, if you've got anything that causes inflammation in the gut, then there will be other disease consequences, whether that be through skin disease and inflammation in the skin, whether it be immune compromise and autoimmune disease, whether it be issues with any inflammatory process, arthritis, etc., all the way through to what happens after chronic inflammation is that predisposition to cancers. So, all disease, as you say, that long list, but ultimately the easiest one to allocate is how leaky is that gut after ultra processed food.
And is that something that can be rectified if you have a pet that has got that, poor stomach health? Over time, can that be rectified with a natural diet?
Yeah. Look, absolutely. Is there other ways? We'll give you some hints and tips as to how to achieve that if you come and join us at the conference. But from a point of view of, there are definitely ways. I've just come out of consultations, seen a pet that I've been seeing for a couple of years now, came to me in pieces, literally in pieces. Horrible skin, horrible issues with food, slightest dietary change caused horrendous diarrhea. They were just beaming with pride today because that dog no longer has loss of coat. Little Dachshund, lovely little dog. Okay, full coat, starting to get the gloss back on. Not 100%, but it's 99% in their words there. There's no red skin, there's no pustules, there's no diarrhea episodes. It's now on a full range of proteins. So no dietary restriction now there. Okay, so this is where you start the process and slowly lead into getting them back. So actually they can tolerate all foods. Okay, and that's the point. So are they cured in inverted commas because they're on a restricted diet? That was a first step. That was part of detoxing and getting rid of all of the environmental stuff, all of the issues with the chronic gut. But once you get them healthy, once they're truly healing, you don't need to restrict foods. And that's the difference. If you put them on a hydrolyzed kibble diet of whatever make, and you think that's control, that's not control. That's trying to bury the symptoms in some mythical thing. You are still potentiating the leakiness of that gut. So you need to seal and heal, and you can truly get them back to being able to eat normally.
And I suppose that's why it's so important that when you do seek advice to make that switch onto a natural diet, is that you speak to someone who knows what they're talking about, who's qualified to help you. And if your pet is in that bad situation, that they can go through it with you step by step.
Definitely working with their vet. You know, if you've got an ill pet, there is no just seeking dietary advice and thinking that's, oh, Brendan said that's going to work and that's going to sort my pet out. Okay. You need to work closely. There's a whole process of unraveling that illness, and this is why we want to encourage so many vets to come along to understand, get on board. People are crying out for this. You know, if you want to be on that cutting edge of what's happening in the health industry, come and join us, learn how you can take the advice that we're giving and use that for your patients, and actually then also be adapting all of the medicines that are on board at that point, how you're going to slowly support the patient with a view that ultimately you can unwrap them from all of those individual medicines and all of that, you know, ultra processed diet, ultra processed life, and start to actually come into the world of actually healing. Truly what we're about. You know, that's what the core of why we did veterinary medicine in the first place, was that we wanted to be there to help heal our pets.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message, and I'm like super excited to meet all of you. You know, I've heard so much about you through Retha, and you know, talking with her and listening to you on your podcasts and things like so. It's like, for me as a South African, to have you coming here and for us to be able to learn directly from you and your expertise, and just, you know, just open up this world of giving better health to our pets, because we do love them. They are part of our family, and we want them to live better lives for longer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's reciprocated. We're super excited to come and see you guys and, you know, feel, you know, experience the new challenges that you have. You know, we don't know loads about South Africa. We really want to learn, you know, what are the problems with the food access? What's the, you know, there's going to be different diseases. There's other diseases that can cause chronic inflammation, which will hide from the immune system through using that chronic inflammation. We're going to talk about that. So there's loads of novel diseases we want to get to understand and sort of really look into, and hopefully be able to give you a way out of.
Yeah, no, I think it couldn't have come at a better time. I think we're at that tipping point now where so many people are asking questions, and there must be a better way, because sticking a plaster on it every time is just not doing it anymore. And I think it's the perfect timing, and Retha's momentum behind this whole thing is just fantastic, you know, so very excited to meet all of you.
Brilliant. And Retha, yeah, you know, obviously just a powerhouse of being able to organize everybody to get us over there. So thank you very much.
She's losing sleep, I think, Retha.
We'll make it up after the summit.
Yeah, no, we'll sleep after. Retha, I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add.
All I'm going to say is, guys, invite your vets, book for the summit, get your vets to join, and we promise you, you will not be disappointed in the amazing topics that we're going to discuss, and the chance to actually meet the guys and Anna together during our little excursion on the 29th and the 30th of March, and then for the Cape Townians, we will be on the 5th of April. And book tickets are really going out fast. convince your vet to join you. That is the most important thing. We want the vets to come because it's a love affair between you, your vet, and your pet. And it's important to understand that we need to take hands in this.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
All right.
It's great to hear as well, and you know that it's already so popular, and I think you know we're super excited to be there. Can't wait. It's only 5 weeks. 5 weeks
Yes,
we'll be on your doorstep.
5 weeks. Almost. Time is getting closer. Yeah. 5 weeks. I had it counted to say how many days, but I forgot. I'm trying not to remember that. Focus on how many days.
Have you got one of those doomsday countdowns going on?
There's so much more to be done just by. The easy part is getting you guys here. That's the easy part. There's a lot of other things that's not that easy. But yeah, it's a big learning school for us as well. So we're really looking forward to
We'll
you guys.
try and behave. We really will.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you'll find South Africa very enjoyable.
I broke up totally.
Good stuff.
All right. But thank you very much for giving your time, Dr. Brendan. And we're really looking forward to meeting you all in person and to see all the vets there as well. So, yeah, not long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Dr. Brendan.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Antoinette.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye.